We're here at Lake Marion, focused on the 21st year of Camp Happy Days, the loving answer for children with cancer. Stay tuned. Carolina People's coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're in Somerton, South Carolina. We're at Camp Happy Days, and we're focused on happy days and special times. And we're visiting with Forrest Wicks, otherwise known as Kung Fu, who's the martial arts instructor here at Camp Happy Days. Good morning, Forrest.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
My pleasure.
Incredible opportunity all week to highlight so many folks who are instrumental as counselors and as campers in making this such an amazing week. Thank you so much for giving that commitment. What about yourself? Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm actually from just across the Georgia border. I'm in Aiken, South Carolina.
Okay. And how long have you been coming to Camp Happy Days?
I started as a camper back in 1989 at another site.
You started as a camper in 89?
Yes, three-time cancer survivor.
Is that right?
Yes.
How long did you attend as a camper, and then how long have you been a counselor?
I'd say I probably attended maybe about 4 years as a camper, took a couple of years as a junior counselor, which is kind of a transition period, and then I've been doing a counselor ever since, or counselor/program director ever since.
And you're the martial arts program director?
Yes, I take pride in that.
This must be thrilling for a lot of the kids who've never experienced martial arts.
It's real fun, especially one of my specialties is teaching handicap self-defense, and there's nothing like teaching people who have canes and crutches and wheelchairs that they have got a means to actually protect themselves instead of just a device that hinders them.
That must be powerful. And you've got a cane here in your hand. Do you use that for walking yourself, or?
Yes, I actually have hip problems, but I also use it for my self-defense. I've won many of a karate tournament with it. So.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's wild. You're a massage therapist.
Yes, I sure am. I've been doing that for about 2 years now.
That must be thrilling to take a lot of pain away or take a lot of suffering. For the 1 week that you're not here, for the 51 weeks of the year that you're not here, all the thrill of really relieving some of that pain on others must be a great.
All right. Well, like I said, having been through all the stuff before, I know what it's like on the other end of the client, doctor side, and I always like to try to get rid of the pain and help people to make stuff more bearable and just enjoy things a lot more.
How did your family deal with your cancer and your cancer surviving?
They were very supportive. I first got it when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
So it's pretty much been more of a lifestyle than just a temporary occurrence in my life. They have been surprisingly, like I said, supportive with me. And when it comes to outside camp events, they take great pride in sharing our experiences with other parents that are just going through it and how to better navigate like insurance problems and doctor, all that sort of stuff.
And they've been very supportive of your involvement with Camp Happy Days.
Oh, very much so. They actually participate in the Parents' Weekend themselves.
How did you become involved in martial arts?
Well, actually, my third time being treated for cancer, I had to have a bone marrow transplant. And I was also scheduled to start college at that time. But despite the fact I was maintaining an A average, when you're missing every week, X number of days every week, if that attendance isn't up to their certain number, you don't get credit for the course. Right. So I ended up deciding to save my money, and I'd always wanted since I was a little kid. I had a great interest first with the Last Electric Night, an old TV show that came on with Ernie Reyes Jr. I always loved the martial arts. Then later it was Turtles, and this was my first opportunity to actually take classes.
Wow.
So I spent a year up at the dojo pretty much from 8 a.m. to about 9 p.m. for just working out and everything.
And you called it dojo?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Dojo is a loose translation for essentially a karate school. In Korean it's a dojang, but there's all sorts of different terms that they use, and I try to teach the kids some of that here to, teach them a little bit of cultural, and tomorrow I'm even teaching them how to write their names in Japanese. So.
Wow, that's cool. That should be very cool. How about a special memory of your first involvement back in 1989 with Camp Happy Days?
Oh, goodness. Probably the one that I remember the most, even though I was a teenager, they had a hot air balloon out there. And even though it was tethered, it went up probably about 50 foot. And just remembering looking down on the camp and seeing all the people and realizing that at this camp, you've got siblings and the cancer patients, but you don't know who's who. So it's everybody's the same. And that's I think what makes it real special for a lot of the kids here, because you don't know who's who. Everybody's treated the same, which is not, unfortunately, still to this day, something that goes on outside of camp.
That is power. I mean, that must be incredibly meaningful. Do you participate in other happy days and special times, events during the year?
Yes. A couple years back, they asked me to chaperone a trip to Disney World, which I had a blast on. I've also chaperoned trips to Carowinds. Me and my fiance, we actually have, for the past few years, have been working the Parents' Weekend Getaway, where they try to educate and kind of give the parents a little time off. We come up in that week and we actually do chair massage and whatnot for the parents to give them a little break.
Wow, that must be wonderful. And your fiance's been very supportive, I'm sure, as well.
Yes, she is. We're set to get married in October, and she had wanted to be here this week, but due to job complications, she's looking forward to next year.
What do you think's impressed you the most about Flash, Debbie Stevenson, the founder?
My impression about Flash? When I look at Flash and what she's done, she's created a camp on her own. But she didn't do it from the political standpoint that you see coming out of a lot of hospitals. The way I look at it, Flash, even though she didn't have cancer, she looked at it and she took, as if she did have cancer, she looked at it through one of our eyes and created a camp like we want.
That's amazing. So that's a powerful impression of, that's something that is incredibly, I mean, you can almost not put that in words, but that you
it's
just
very
did it.
hard to. I mean, she looks at it through each one of our eyes, and she adjusts it each year to keep it going that way.
What message would you want to send to viewers in our viewing area?
Probably the fact, I mean, picture yourself as Flash, and you created this for these people, but the thing is, most of us out there don't have the means to actually fund this sort of thing. I mean, if it was you, wouldn't you want help? And that's what I'd kind of ask them to help her keep this dream alive in this special time for all these kids going.
Forrest. Lastly, what does Camp Happy Days mean to Forrest Wicks?
As a camper, it meant a good time. As a junior counselor, a learning experience and a lot of work. And nowadays, it means a spiritual fulfillment, and at the same time, being a karate teacher, all teachers, good ones, realize that even though you're a teacher, you're never not a student. These kids and all the counselors are constantly teaching you things, and you're constantly learning from them. And that's what it gives me.
Forrest Wicks is constantly learning. He learned that both from his involvement in karate as well as involvement here since 1989. Forrest, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're in Somerton, South Carolina. We're at Camp Happy Days, and we're focused on happy days and special times. And we're visiting with the fishing program director, Lindsey Dangerfield. Lindsey, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for being here.
Incredible opportunity all week to think of all the folks like Big Bass Man, like yourself, getting out here making such a commitment to make this a thrilling week for all the campers and counselors. You all learn so much as counselors. It is amazing. Had you been here before as a camper?
I've been here for 14 years. As a camper, I've been here. I was a camper for 11 years, and then I was a junior counselor, and I've been a program director for the fishing for 3 years.
Okay.
So, very long time. I'm 21 right now.
That's a huge commitment. It was age 18 that you could first become active as a counselor.
Yes.
But 11 years before that as a camper?
I was a camper.
Wow.
So, it's like my family here.
Absolutely. How did you first find out about Camp Happy Days?
One of the nurses working at Shriners Hospital in Greenville suggested to my mom, and she was a little reluctant about it at first, and then she decided to let us go. And first year I was real scared. I wanted to come back home the first day. But after that week got over with, I didn't want to leave. It was just so much fun, so much to do. And so I've just been coming ever since.
And you said, let us go. Did you have more, like
yes.
a brother or sister come with you?
My sister, my twin sister, she's been coming with me the whole time.
Is she here this year?
She didn't get to come this year. She's married. And she's been married for about 2 years.
Wow. So it's tough for her because she can't bring her husband.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that's exciting. What was when you think about your first experience at camp 14 years ago, can you remember that day or that first time? I know you said there was trepidation at first.
Yes, it was at a Girl Scout camp. And I remember there was a big plantation that we stayed in. And it was real scary for a little guy like me. I was probably 6 or 7. And I remember the first night I was sleeping on the bunk bed, and the mosquitoes were buzzing in my ear.
Oh, my God.
I've never been away from home for that long. And so it was kind of scary, but I learned that Flash and everybody, they were real comforting and understood what I had been going through. Because I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 2 years old.
When you were 2?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
But I took chemo for 18 months, and it just disappeared without a trace. Praise God for it. But 10 Happy Days has been through with me all the way.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I'm sure there's so many folks who don't understand the ramifications of cancer and how that affects a family. What was the impact, when you think about the impact it had on your family?
Just real stressful. I don't know, just a lot of worrying and just not knowing what's going to happen. So you just got to trust in God and let Him lead the way, and just take just one day at a time.
And you really do lift it all up to God.
Yes, I do.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. When you think about preparation for your week here at camp, are you preparing the other 51 weeks of the year, or?
I'm thinking about it the whole year, all the
really?
time. I really am.
Is there anything else like this, Lindsey?
Nothing else that I can think of. Nothing that remotely enters my mind is like Camp Happy Days. It's the greatest thing in the world to me.
You're in college now.
Yes.
What are you studying?
I'm studying computer science and art.
What's prompted you think to get involved in computer science and art?
Probably computer graphics, and I like to maybe do networking or computer maintenance. But I haven't taken enough classes to know exactly what I want to do.
That'd be cool. There's so many aspects when you get into college, thinking about an impact you can have on others. And as a counselor now, you have such an impact, or as a program director, excuse me.
Right.
Well, what's going on as the program director for fishing? What do you all do out there?
Well, I provide a place where the kids can come out and fish most time, anytime they want to. Regular hours is like 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then 2 to 5, so they can fish whenever they want to all day long. And anytime in between there if they would like to fish.
Do a lot of folks take you up on it?
Oh, yes. I had probably 20 people out there at 6:38 in the morning yesterday.
No way.
Waiting on me. So, got to get up early, but it's definitely worth it to see some of the kids catching their first fish and just seeing the smile on their faces and those eyes light up.
Oh, yeah, Lindsey, that must be amazing to see
blast.
that first catch, to be a part of that on their first catch. Do you have a special memory of your involvement with Happy Days?
Well, last year, this girl, Desiree, she was out there fishing that never caught a fish in her life. And she ended up catching the biggest brim caught all last year.
No way.
I mean, it was bigger than your hand. I couldn't hardly get my hand around it, and that was just a really special memory for me.
That must be. My God, she never caught a fish in her life.
Nope.
Wow.
It's amazing how many people found out had never been fishing.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think's impressed you the most about Debbie Stevenson, about Flash, Ronnie, Lindsey?
Her energy and excitement and trying to keep the kids to help them forget about all the troubles that they're going through in their lives outside of camp and just to create this imaginary place that's so real, and it's just incredible all the things that she comes up with, provides all the events here for camp. And there's something new every year, something new and exciting that you don't even expect. And she's just great. She's like a mother to me.
She's like a mother to you.
Yeah, she's been there all the way.
That's amazing, Lindsey. Lindsey, as you think about the impact that Camp Happy Days has had on you, what does Camp Happy Days mean to Lindsey, Big Bass Man, Dangerfield?
Camp Happy Days is just so special to me. Every time I come to camp, it's like a family reunion. Or any time I go to any of the events that we have for Camp Happy Days. We've been having Christmas parties in November just about every year since I can remember. It's always good to get together and see people you hadn't seen in a while, and just fellowship.
Absolutely. What do you take away with you from your week here each year?
Just the joy that I can help these kids forget about whatever they're going through, and just give them hope and just help them have fun.
Giving kids hope and helping them have fun is exactly what Lindsey Dangerfield's been doing, both as a camper for 11 years and then over the last 3 years as a counselor and now program director for the fishing area. To think of the girl last year catching that 5-pound brim, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Good luck with your studies.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're in Somerton, South Carolina. We're at Camp Happy Days, and we're focused on happy days and special times. And we're visiting with the camp counselor, Deborah Brisbane. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Incredible opportunity to highlight all the activities going on all week out here. I think Debbie said at the beginning of the week, you're piling 100 days into 7, and it truly shows. When did you first learn about Camp Happy Days, Deborah?
Well, in 1986, I was diagnosed with cancer. And so a flash came into my hospital bedroom with a big, huge stuffed dog. And she talked to my parents and told us a little bit about Happy Days. And they invited us out to the camp that next year. And my brothers and I started coming to camp. I was 5 years old. Wow. And they were 10 and 9. So we've been with Happy Days ever since, which is 16 years this year.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What has that meant to your family, Deborah?
Oh, wow. Well, I know during the time that I was going through cancer, which was actually a 15-month time frame, they really reached out to us. They provided support and just brought a more comfortable atmosphere around us and just offered out their love during a time that we were going through a hard time. So I don't really remember too much, but I just know that with even my family, I know they were going through a lot of times, and it was just a really hard thing to handle. And then having people like Happy Days out there that offer their support made it a lot easier.
Have you ever done anything else like Camp Happy Days?
No, I haven't. No. I have not. Happy Days is like my life. I talk about Happy Days all the time. I've heard of other camps, but even with hearing about those other camps, I've never heard anything as exciting as, I talk about Happy Days all by myself, There's no experience that I've ever had like Happy Days.
You're a student now at the State University of West Georgia. What are you studying, Deborah?
Early childhood education.
Oh, great. So you're having an early impact.
Oh, yes.
What's that like talking to other students, let's say, about Camp Happy Days? You said, you're talking about it all the time. And have you been able to get other students involved or interested in coming to camp?
Yeah, actually, last year I was able to get my best friend as well as my roommate at the time to come. And they had oh my goodness, they loved it. They had never experienced anything like this before. And we still, to this day, we still talk about our experience at camp and laugh about the good things that happen and just talk about how significant camp is. And we talk about it to other people. I'm involved in the gospel choir at my school, and we talk about it with them. And, the stories are just awesome. So I can't help but to talk about it.
Absolutely. And you said you're now 20, 21?
I'm 21 years old.
So you've been a counselor for the last 3 years?
This is my second year being a counselor.
Second year, okay. What was that, your first experience as a camper? Can you remember back to, of course you were age 5, so that's a little shady. How about your first memory of camp?
I would say my first memory of camp was meeting, there was a lady, a counselor that we called Pooh Bear.
Pooh Bear?
Her name was Pooh Bear. Her first name was Winnie, and so, we gave her the nickname Winnie, Pooh Bear from Winnie the Pooh. And Pooh Bear and I, we just hit it off. She wasn't my personal counselor, but she just reached out to me, and I don't know, we just had a bond. And every time we did camp activities, we were always seeing each other, and we were always taking pictures. I have plenty of pictures from back in the day when I was with her, and she just really reached out to me. I remember one time because there's so many people there, I lost sight of my counselor, and Pooh Bear, she just saw me standing out there by myself, and she came over to me, and she basically just embraced me, and since that moment, we were inseparable.
Wow. Wow, that's wonderful.
She's an awesome counselor.
Like yeah.
And just being the fact that it was a new atmosphere, I'd never been there before, and to have somebody just show me that kind of attention, it really made me feel a lot better at that time.
It must have been very powerful. When you think about the experience for other campers now, as a counselor, you're able to look back and the experiences for them. Can you share what you think this week means to campers?
It puts them in a place to where the other people around them can say, I know how you feel. Right. Yeah. I know when I was growing up and I was telling people I had cancer or went through cancer, or even during the time that I was going through it, it wasn't something that a lot of people went through.
Right, sure.
And when I would talk about it, people would try to say, I know how you feel, I know how you feel, but then they really didn't, because they didn't go through what I went through. Yeah. But Camp Happy Days is the place where when they say, I know what you went through, it's real. And it just forms that special bond.
Wow. How about everything? And the great thing there is that aspect that when you're talking to other children and the campers there, how about the experiences, how it helps a family, of a child who's suffering through either cancer and remission or all the levels and stages of cancer. How about the experience for the family?
I think with that, it's just the fact that Happy Days offers so much, and and it's not even just the camp; it's the Christmas reunions and the Halloween parties and everything else that come together with Happy Days. It really just opens the door up for families who can't even do something. I know even with the Disney trip they have, a lot of children can't go to Disney World, or a lot of families can't take their kids. But Happy Days opens the doors and does that for them. So I think they just open up the doors for many opportunities that some children just don't even get a chance to experience.
That's great. Deborah, what do you think's impressed you the most about Debbie Stevenson, about Flash, the program's founder?
What I find amazing is the vision that God gave her, and then her actually sacrificing herself to bring that vision to pass. She's very strong, and when she puts her mind to doing something, she does it.
You really give it all up to God, Deborah.
Yes. I just know if it weren't for him, that I don't even see any of this being possible.
Yeah, good for you. That's great. If there was a message you'd want to send to our viewers in the PD or the Strand or southeastern North Carolina about Camp Happy Days, what do you think that would be?
I would say give them your support. We need your support.
Whether it's money or supplies or time,
money, time, love, sacrifice, whatever you can give is greatly appreciated. I mean, there's so many children out here that are sick, so many children out here that are having a hard time, families that are having a hard time. Even if it is just saying a simple prayer before you go to sleep or when you wake up in the morning, anything that you can give, it would be wonderful.
Lastly, Deborah, what does Camp Happy Days mean to Deborah Brisbane?
Camp for me is a must. Every year, no matter what I have, just like now, I'm in summer school and I had to come to camp. I talked to my teachers before the spring semester was even over with, to let them know I was coming to camp. And when it came time to it, everything worked out really well to where I was able to come. But Camp Happy Days is a must. It's my family, and it's like Happy Days is a reunion. It's a family reunion for me, and it's a reunion I would never miss.
That's it. A reunion she'd never miss. Deborah Brisbane. She doesn't have a nickname, but she lives 51 weeks of the year to be back here this week. Deborah, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Debbie Flash Stevenson, Camp Happy Days volunteers and campers for making today's Carolina People so special.